Well, hey, Paul.
Hey, we're back here again in the media studio.
We are, yeah. We've done a lot of these videos now. We've done like 3, 4,
We've
5,
done 3 or
I don't
4,
know.
enough so that we've covered all the basics, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you think about what we've done, we did that first little intro reminding folks for working through sites, nothing really is changing.
Yeah. All
Building
the
out
creating
pages,
stuff.
all that creating, the curating stuff is there, right?
Yep.
So the only thing that we've been focusing on is some of the enhancements. And we've worked through a scenario of a faculty member just wanting to get a template deployed.
Basic template out
Pushed
to the
out
course.
there, right? And a student that decides to share it,
Yep.
to check in, and then I'm a faculty member and I just want at the end of the semester to do a submission because it serves as a record
Right.
that may be useful for accreditation or evaluation, but also for helping me make up a grade.
Yeah.
But there
And
are
so that would
other
submit to an assignment, and
Yep.
that's the real basic stuff. We've gone
Right.
over all of those.
Right.
And we also did some student perspective stuff
We
so
did.
that you have
We
some
did.
idea of what the students are going to be
correct.
seeing here.
And in fact, the student one, we said, go ahead and actually share it out because it may be useful for your students to kind of work through.
Yeah.
But there, you know, we've talked about there are sets of advanced tools.
And that's what we're doing
And that's what we're doing
today.
today. So I know we've called it bonus, but you know, it's just,
You know.
we call it cool stuff,
Yeah.
right?
So we're going to start out talking about assessment kind
Right,
of things.
right,
So it's
right.
outcomes, and these are things we like kind of teased in the previous videos.
Correct, correct.
So
Yep.
outcomes, peer review, grading, the grade book, kind of viewing those types of things.
You got
right?
it. You got it.
So we're going to start out in the faculty view. We're all familiar with this by
Right.
now. And we've got some assignments, as we've seen before. Still,
Yep.
these ones without any
You got it.
context are a little bit more difficult for students. But we don't see anything about outcomes right here on the front page right away.
Correct. We have to actually go deeper.
Actually, so assignment 2, or the second assignment 1 that is poorly labeled, has some outcomes right here on the front page. And so I love this because I think students see this also.
Correct.
And that's just this level of like transparency of
Correct.
they know what you're expecting from them. They know you're expecting evidence of teamwork and written communication when they jump right in. So
And not only that we are expecting these two, but there's an indication that there's rubrics tied to it.
yeah, this little grid icon, we see that rubric. And they could even click on the little information and get like, find out what you mean by
You bet.
teamwork. Find
You
out
bet.
what you mean by written communication. So this is set up where you add these in your assignment settings when
Correct.
you actually make an assignment.
Correct.
But even if you have already made an assignment, forgot to include some outcomes, or realize you want to after the fact, you can jump back
We
in.
could do it on the fly.
Right? So you can either jump back in and edit your assignment and add stuff in, or just do it when you're grading.
Correct.
All of those
Correct.
are options.
Correct.
Right?
And an outcome could be either tied to a course or maybe to just an individual student within that course.
Yeah. So let's jump into the settings here and see. So I'd click this little hamburger menu,
Yep.
like we like to refer to,
Yep.
and go into edit. And we see the assignment that we already know how to set that up because we've watched the videos before. But down here at assessment,
Please watch the videos.
down here at the assessment, we see the outcome. That blue plus icon, always
I
what
like
we want
it.
to
You
click.
refer to as the magic
The magic blue
the
plus.
magic blue plus.
If you don't know what to do and you want to add something, look for
Look.
a blue plus. So here we can add outcomes. And these are the ones that are already in there by default, right?
These are the ones associated with the American Colleges of Universities, the value rubrics, which are really useful if you're just getting into rubrics and wanting to think about some stuff. Take a look. But they're available to grab if you need them.
Yeah, so they're already default in there. And as you can see, they all have those rubrics associated with them. So there's like a lot of layers going on there.
Yep.
But you can also just create your own and say, I want to add, a
Digital literacy outcome.
digital literacy. And all you do is just click create.
Right.
And then you have that outcome associated with your course.
Now, if you had used it in another course, or you go use this idea again in another one, it goes into your own library, and you can grab it from your own library.
Very cool. And so, let's just add one of those AAC and U ones as
Sure.
well. Let's add a global learning to
There we
this
go.
too. So if I'm hovering over here, I see that rubric and this little eye icon, which I discovered has so much in it.
Oh, yeah.
So
Oh,
if
yes.
you realize, I didn't actually need to add that one, I can click this minus sign, which
Yep.
I like the contrast of the blue plus and the gray minus. You can really tell. So you could take it out, but you could also click in to see all of the rubric information.
Yeah.
So that is all really great and helpful. However, if you get into that and you're like, whoa, the rubric is more than I need, but I like the idea of global learning,
Right.
you can just go in and edit and just say, don't use the rubric for this. And click save, and then you've got your global learning
Right.
associated outcome there.
One of the ways I think about something what you just did would be almost like a tag.
Yeah,
I've just
exactly.
I've tagged this assignment for global learning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the other things that I'll point out here is we've got these other outcomes that have showed up here. And if I click on one of these, it says this actually was created by my student, Spike the Humpback Whale.
Yeah.
And so this is kind of our tie into the peer feedback
Yep.
element, because we have students that have given outcomes to their other students when they're doing the kind of feedback.
You got it. Yep.
So the way that we set that is just scrolling down a little bit to this peer assessment and feedback area. And so you can have students share with their peers if they want, and you can add outcome assessment for the peers to do and add them to add their own announcement or their own outcomes. So many layers. So that's how we've added some peer assessment and outcomes to an assignment. Easy as that.
Yep.
And it's got a lot of layers to it. So like Paul said, if you have some, we're here for more than tech support. We are also here for design and
Correct.
thinking about why you're using things
Correct.
and if this is the right tool for the right scenario.
Correct. Or coming in and actually doing orientation. Both you and I
For sure.
appreciate going into classes and actually spending time with students and faculty.
That's always fun.
Yeah.
So the next one I wanted to see was just using the conversation tool. I wanted to talk about that a little bit. So if we'll look at maybe something that's been submitted here in this, we'll open it up, see what Spirit the Seawolf has submitted for their research project proposal.
Right.
And so if you are in here grading your student's submission, we would see down here we've got a grade, which you can type in, great. Here's where the outcomes come in.
Yep.
So you can add in the outcome. These are the ones we just added in that assignment editing there. And so we could say, yeah, this is great digital literacy because they included a video.
You got it.
You got that's great. Some global learning, you can add that, or you can say, oh, maybe not so much on this assignment. And you can add in your own custom ones here on the fly. So
Correct.
you don't always have to think about it
Correct.
ahead of time.
Well, not only can add that, you can actually add that rubric into if you need to come back later and do it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the easy way to add outcomes. And then the conversations tool, which I think is very cool. So you could say, I think this is a great project proposal. Think about X, Y, and Z as you're moving into the next assignment.
And then there's options.
You can add, what do we
Is
have
it-
here?
So it's going to
this
go
is
to
my
Spirit
the
directly.
student.
It's obviously available for if there were multiple faculty, but you could also set up where maybe this is I've had classes do a class portfolio. So something like that may share it with all the students or something,
Nice.
right?
Okay, so we can do that and click send, and they will get a little notification.
Correct.
And so that is cool stuff.
But let's do one more thing on conversation if we can.
Oh yeah.
Highlight a piece of text, if you would. So much like Google Docs or Word markup, you could actually, I've talked to a number of faculty that have been waiting on this, especially for submitted information, submitted files,
Let's
to
check.
be able to go in and do something.
Fact check this.
You got it.
And then you don't have, oh wow, that is very cool.
Very cool
I'm a
way
big
to
fan
do
of that.
very discrete type of feedback.
So you can get all kinds of specific here. Yeah, very neat.
And you could ask, when the student sees this, I want you to give me feedback, give me something
Yeah, respond.
as a conversation.
This is the idea. It's
This
a
is that.
conversation.
You
It's
got it.
not just giving you feedback.
Correct.
You can give back and forth, and then they could, if you've got resubmissions allowed, they could resubmit based on
got
your
it.
feedback.
Yep.
A lot
Yep.
of good interaction. The way to pay attention to conversations for right now, there may be improvements in the future, but right now is paying attention to this little bell icon in
Correct.
the top corner. And I can see here that I'm aware of some students submitting conversations on pages, and I can see all of those notifications here and jump
Correct.
right to them.
Correct.
So that's probably the best way to see that. Let's see, the grade book is the other part that we wanted to look at. So to get to the gradebook, you would go into your course and either click View in Gradebook,
Right.
which is pretty
And this
obvious.
kind of reviews that assignment grid that's in the Classic. When you and I would work with folks, there's that long grid,
Yeah,
many rows, many columns. That's all now as part of the gradebook.
yeah. So View in the Gradebook, this little hamburger menu is also another way you can get into
Yep.
it. And so here you see kind of a grid view still,
Yeah,
still same
it's
idea.
still there.
And so these are my 2 students. I can see they've submitted stuff, haven't actually given them a grade yet on this assignment, so I should probably do that. And you can filter by all these different kinds of things. So those are
And you can
cool
click
stuff.
in from this screen to actually see what the submission was. Yep.
Yeah, just click right in there and see as it takes a minute to load because the internet
You are not.
is not perfect.
Yeah. And
Here we go.
we don't have, you and I have no control over that element.
No, we don't.
Yeah.
So here's the page that Spike submitted that we were getting some conversations on.
Yep.
Cool. So the other thing, let's see. Oh, we wanted to talk about for that scenario where a student has just shared something with the class, not submitted an assignment. What do we do then?
yeah,
We
yep,
don't have
yep,
ability to grade.
yep,
We don't
yep,
have the ability to, add these outcomes if that's the thing you're doing. But you would see this as work shared in the course still.
You got.
And is there some tool that you would still have access to in this scenario? Conversations.
You still have conversations
You
on the
still
shared.
have conversations on
But
the shared.
one of the things we always have to remember, because I've run into this a couple times, when we're sharing on a live site, the student is controlling their site. A submitted site, the faculty controls that space, and so
so
they
this is
can't
a
go
good-
in and,
Good distinction.
yeah, yep.
But
yep.
if you're, collaboratively,
Collaborative,
positively working
yes.
with a
You
student
got it.
on a shared portfolio, you could be in here and add some conversations,
Correct.
and they could edit it and just reshare it.
You bet, exactly.
the-
Always have to publish.
Always the publish.
Always publish.
Every time. So those are kind of the scenarios from the faculty perspective where we would use these outcome assessment type things. So let's look at the student's point of view now for a couple of things. Again, that notifications icon.
I know.
If you're using conversations, you're going to have to kind of cue in to that
Right.
being the thing you want to look at.
Correct.
So this student's in here and sees, oh wow, I have that little red dot. I see some notifications, and I actually see that there's a new conversation on my page.
Right.
And so I'm going to click on it and see what happens.
There we are.
So I've got my page where I've got a resume uploaded, and my classmate, Spike the Humpback Whale, said, this PDF is a little bit hard to see. Maybe think about formatting it a little differently so I can see the whole page. Thanks, Spike. That was really helpful feedback.
Conversations will oftentimes also have these little icons up on top too that help indicate that there's something on that page that has a conversation component.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I can respond to them. And the faculty could jump in and say, hey, we're not looking at formatting yet. Don't worry about
You
it.
got it. Yep.
We could all have a little conversation there. So
And
that's
there's
really
formatting
cool.
bars and everything else that goes with this as well.
Yeah.
Not that you need it, but it's there.
It's there if you need it, if you want it. And if you are a student who is needing to comment on another or have a conversation, you would see this green peer submission button,
Yep.
different than the blue,
Yep.
kind of distinct. And so you could go in and click on that, and it would pop up your fellow students' site that you could then start a conversation on and say,
Right. Here.
great
Yep.
photo.
There you go. They have the same functionality. I can leave it on the page, or I could leave it on a specific piece of text on that page.
Yep, and I can make sure that the faculty see it, or I can make sure it's just going to the individual student.
You got it.
That
Yep.
is up to the student who's leaving the comment, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so they are in charge of where their comment
Yep.
goes. So those are kind of the basics about these more in-depth things that you can do with the assessments, which are really cool.
They
But
are.
again, they are bonus. They are
They're
beyond
bonus,
the normal.
But we would love for folks to evolve into using some of the tools.
Yes, we would.
Because there's some real advantages in terms of identifying outcomes, tracking grades, getting better results from your students,
Yeah.
all those types of things. So I do have one idea that you triggered.
Oh no.
I know. We're so far off script. Let's go back and look at a course.
Okay. As a faculty,
Yes, as a faculty, if we
Okay.
could, if that's okay.
just freestyling. I love
We're
it.
going freestyle. So one of the things we can do is now we have the ability to trigger emails as reminders to students.
Yes. And
Yep.
you could say, send a message to those who have submitted and
Yep.
say, great job. Thanks for paying attention to the due date.
Yep.
You're awesome. Here's look for some conversations feedback. Pay attention to your notifications.
You got it.
Or send a message to those who haven't submitted and say, hey guys, don't forget,
Yep.
this is coming up. Pay attention. And if it's, getting up to the deadline and you want
got
to
it.
be a bonus and allow late submission and say, hey, you'll get a percentage of your points off, but I'm going to still allow you to submit for, a couple days or
You
whatever
got
it
it.
is.
Yep.
So having this right
So
off the
this
bat,
has been a little
very
wish
cool.
list item for a number of folks in terms of being able to just trigger quick communication out to your students.
Yeah, love that. So yeah, those are really cool tools. There's a lot of these new things that we're going to discover and that you're going to discover as you play in Kora.
You got it.
So we'll have a kind of updated eWolf support site and some of those like really basic walkthrough videos that you can share with your students too. That'll all be coming out as we get ready to roll out.
Right.
So
If you guys have ideas for additional videos, let us know. We're always happy to take feedback.
yeah, absolutely. See you in Kora in 2025.